Hey everybody, it's your old pal Steve Moore here, owner of RUNMOORE, this fabulous brick and mortar running shop located in Westminster, Maryland. New shoe today, we're going to be talking about the new Hoka Mach X2 coming out in September of 2024. So let's get into some of the nitty-gritty specs on the new Hoka Mach X2. This bad boy comes in at $190, and on a size 10 for the men's, it's 9.2 ounces, and on a size 8 women's, it's 8 ounces. We've added 5mm stacks, so this now comes in at 44mm high on the men, down to 39mm, so we have a 5mm drop shoe. It has a breathable, lightweight upper with a sleek race-like heel collar. Its midsole is a Peba foam, and it has a Pebax Renew plate and a Meta rocker platform, and a zonal rubber outsole. Hey, before we dive into the good, bad, and the ugly on the new Hoka Mach X2, do me a solid and like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. It's a free, easy way to support our shop. Let's dive into the new Mach X2. You know, Hoka this year has put out a bunch of new great updates. A lot of stuff that is more on sort of the run side of Hoka. You know, if you've been a Hoka enthusiast for a while, you know, they sort of had their go-to lines for a while. You know, you've run in a Clifton or a Bondi or a Gaviota or some of the other sort of old school heritage Hoka shoes. And now I feel like this year they've really tried to step up on the run category and almost separate some of their brand stuff to more walk, casual, you know, everyday wear, and then to more of like your run focused stuff, whether it's the new Mach X2 or something like the Skyflow, some shoes that are more designed for the everyday runner and not the everyday walker. And I will say, I was a huge fan of last year's Mach X1. You know, there's a lot of things that I really dug about this shoe. I think one of the things right out of the gate that I always liked about the Mach X1 is it wasn't so bulky. And you know, some of the Hoka shoes can feel a little bit bulky, and we have people that don't necessarily want that much bulk. And so you almost aesthetically, when you look at this shoe, you would say like it's sleek, it almost looks narrow compared to some of the other Hoka stuff. And for something that's more of a performance trainer, that's what I want. I don't necessarily want a lot of bulk. I want sort of sleek and speedy. And I felt like with this shoe, I also like the fact that I was able to use this shoe for fast stuff and slow stuff. Like to me, this was like a great all-around trainer that I could use it for a little bit of everything. You know, in my general training, I usually do 10 miles on the track on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I just do a bunch of laps back and back and back. And I like this shoe for that all the time. It was comfortable. If I wanted to feel fast, I could. If I just wanted cushion, it was there too. So big fan of the Virginal, and I was super excited to get the new version on my foot. I think part of it was, you know, a little bit different midsole feel to it. Obviously the stack height increased a little bit, so that we went from you know, a 39mm stack height up to a 44. So we added much more plushness to it. We really sleeked it out as well. I think that was one of the other big things I was excited about this. And one of the few knocks I had on the original was the upper felt a little heavy. You know, for a performance trainer, I feel like it didn't quite breathe as well. So this much more breathable, lightweight upper, like right away, aesthetically, vibe-wise, all of that just felt more light, felt more performance-y, just sort of even the vibe of this shoe, like it feels and looks much more racy than the previous version. So I was super excited to pop this guy on my foot, and I will say, you know, those first step-in feels are always so important to me, and you know, if the size isn't right, if the fit isn't good, if the upper doesn't sit well, like you already have that unhappy connotation with the shoe, you know, so I'm popping it on right away. Like I have such issues with my feet right now. I'm doing a lot of longer mile runs and like my feet are angry. The upper felt great on this shoe. You know, I'm always worried about, especially a shoe that sort of looks this narrow, giving me enough width. You know, I always talk about my BFF, my big fat foot, and this actually fit it great along the forefoot. I was super happy with it. And at first I was also a little nervous because it had that gusseted tongue to it. And there have some shoes that Hoka has done lately that haven't done as well as the fit with the gusset on it. You know, it almost has like this little rubber band that wraps around your foot to kind of lock it in place. And some of the performance shoes that Hoka have, I haven't necessarily jived with that. This felt great. Like it was like subtle and it just felt nice and secure. The width was great. All of that was wonderful. Really nice, soft and bouncy and performance feel. You know, the Mach X2, I sort of like a firmer shoe, and this had that like firmer to it in a good way where it felt like you can really run fast in it. This felt much more like plush, but it also felt more performance-y than the Mach X1. Like really, you put this shoe on and like it has that I want to go fast vibe to it. So right away, like even before I stood up, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna roll some laps in this thing. I'm very excited to kind of take this bad boy out. And in fact, you know, the first thing I said was it felt like a baby Rocket X2. You know, if you're somebody who does do some racing in Hoka and you run in some of their carbon plated shoes, like the new Mach X2 to me almost felt closer to the Rocket X2 than it did to the original Mach X1, if that makes sense. I felt like really for the value of what this shoe is, it is now closer to their really high-end price points than it is to like an everyday trainer. So like to me, this now really does feel much more like a performance trainer than an everyday trainer. Now, obviously there's gonna be people that spending $190 on a pair of shoes, and this will be their everyday shoe for all things. But I will tell you, just, you know, I put 25 miles on my new Mach X2s, and like I had a much more pleasant experience running fast in it. It was definitely one of those shoes like I had to kind of like reel it in because it wants to go. And I felt like I was able to, and not in a bad way, like I felt like I had much more control over my speed in the Mach X1, where like I just wanted to go fast in this, partly because the shoe felt good, but it just has such an exciting feel to it. Like you just want to go fast. And not only did I have that experience, I had some staff running around the shop in it yesterday, and they had the same feeling of like, holy crap, this is a fast shoe. Very nice fit, much more plush, a lot of great things to like on this shoe. If you're looking for a shoe for that like workout, race day shoe, you know, there's a lot of shoes that I've run in lately in this sort of performance trainer category, and this, as far as speed goes, to me is probably the top of the list. Now, of course, there's always gonna be some things that aren't great on a shoe, and honestly, unfortunately, there's a pretty big thing for me that wasn't great on this shoe. I understand and appreciate a really nice speedy collar to the shoe and like trying to find different ways to cut weight, but you know, there were some people that didn't love the Mach X1 because the heel cup was almost too stiff. And I also will say, my first run on this, I almost felt like this was too hard and firm on the heel on the original Mach X1. So they almost went too far the opposite direction. This is almost too wispy, like it just doesn't hug your heel enough. And so I definitely had major rub here. I mean, like, you know, my heel is pretty rubbed down raw at this point. And like, unlike certain members of the Wu-Tang clan, I do not like it raw. It hurts back of my foot, especially on longer runs. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of like playing around with it to kind of get the heel cup the way I want it, whether it's throwing a piece of moleskin in here or something, but I have to kind of fill that channel in because it is gonna irk the bejesus out of me. But I wanted to run in this shoe so bad, even with my heel being rubbed down raw, like I pulled it again because I was like, crap, that shoe is so nice. So like, I'm willing to kind of figure out the heel cup to make this shoe work for me, because the rest of the shoe is like a 10 out of 10. So, you know, and not everybody might have that same heel cup thing. I don't know if I was just sort of between sizes on the length. You know, I'm an 11.5, and everything else from basically here forward was like, boom. I'm gonna have to tinker a little bit with it. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the new Hoka Mach X2. And I'm wondering if anybody else has had similar vibes on the heel cup and just the overall performance. And I would love to know your thoughts, especially on the heel cup, if you can leave comments down below. I just kind of want to see if I'm on an island like that, which happens all the time. So there you have it, the new Hoka Mach X2 out in September of 2024. And if you wanted to purchase this fine shoe, we'll have a link down below, and you can enter promo code RUNMOORE, you'll save 10%, which is like 20 bucks on this shoe, and we'll ship it out for free, which is another couple bucks in savings. So thank you so much. Happy running. If you're in the greater Westminster, Maryland area, stop on by and say hello. Happy running. See you around town.